What is up, my dudes? This is Trent with the Fantasy Football Dudes podcast. Today's episode, we have our Week 5 preview. We got starts, we got sits, sleepers, all that good stuff. And today's episode, before we start, is brought to you by our friends over at Trophy Smack. Head over to Trophy Smack, www.trophysmack.com/dudes. 15% off your whole entire order, guys. Get yourself a trophy, participation awards, a bust of Patrick Mahomes, all kinds of stuff, guys. But let me check in with my dudes here. I am joined by Jordan, Seth, and Phil. I bought some really nice shorts on eBay, and Phil's been hounding me, making fun of me for, being a thrift shopper. So he doesn't like eBay either, I guess, even though he has a Tolbert jersey off eBay. So
Jordan hooked me up. Can you guys agree with me, though, that Trent buying basically basketball shorts that other dudes have sweat in is kind of gross on eBay?
Depends on how used they are.
These are like skid mark used.
No, that's a lie. That's a lie. That's a total lie. So
buy those to wear.
Yeah. Shortage. No, but what I'm saying is I do like Lululemon. I don't like paying full price. There's these variegated mesh camo shorts. If I find them, I snag them. And for $29, you can't go wrong with that. Lululemon shorts have a lifetime warranty, Phil. So I could actually get a knife, cut a hole in them, and send them back in, and they'd send me.
Do they have the warranty if you buy them off eBay?
Yeah, you just have to have the code on the tag. As long as the tag's there, the little printed on tag. But yeah, so $29, not that bad. The problem is they sometimes make these shorts, sometimes they don't. So it's kind of like when you see them, you got to snag them. And I bought, I think, 3 pairs when they went on the We Made Too Much site for, $29. But I feel like
the same color and everything.
Same color and everything. The black variegated mesh.
You need 3 pairs of the same shorts.
They are the best pair of shorts I've ever wore.
Jordan, not only that,
the same color though.
And not only that, he went on eBay and bought 2 more colors of the same color. It's like, dude, you don't need a pair of shorts.
He's a collector.
Why? But why don't you just wash them or wear them again? Like, it's not.
That's like me buying the same pair of Vans, buying 7 of them, and wearing one each day of the week.
So here's the deal: I go to the gym every day, and my clothes get extremely sweaty.
And he does. You know what? He doesn't have a washer and dryer at his house. I don't think.
No. I do, but when I get my
laundromat only open one day a week.
Yeah, no. My clothes sit in my truck after I work out, and it is like steamy, hot, sweaty stew in there, man. So it's like if you don't wash them, you're just jacked up. So sorry if this is a little graphic, but yeah. So that's why I have.
I just don't understand the same color though.
They're that good, Seth. They're that good.
But they don't come in different colors.
There's black and green. So I have 3 blacks, 2 greens. Yeah.
I just
also I like how he describes
shorts to the gym every day. Like, that is something. Like,
well, Jordan, he describes, he's like, no, guys, like you were saying, like, why don't you just wash your shorts? And his response is that his shorts sit in his truck all day after he works out. It's like, that still doesn't give us a good response of why you don't just simply take them home and throw them in the washing machine and wear them the next day.
Well, if you want me to flex again, here's another issue I have. I have solar on my house now. To take advantage of solar, you have to wash during the day. So you can't wash at night if you want to, wash your clothes for free.
You have 5 pair of them. You can have 3 or 2.
I know. I wash them all once a week. You have 1 pair.
I'm just curious how you haven't found this is like Lululemon made the best shorts ever, and then now they're just not making them anymore.
Any farther, Seth. I don't need to look any farther. When you find the best, you don't settle for the rest.
This is all I've realized. This is the truth. Trent can say his solar panel, whatever. The truth is, his wife only washes clothes once a week, and Trent can't wash his own clothes. Let's just be honest. That's the truth.
Yeah, that's a flex too, that I don't know how to wash clothes. So yeah, take that, guys. But yeah.
Oh, so Deserted Island, Trent still hasn't done his baseball lineup. It's ketchup, black Lululemon shorts, probably some sunscreens because he's popping the top before he gets to the island. And I don't know what else are we working with?
And my back-to-back World War champs tank top.
Okay. Yep. Did you and my brother buy those shirts at the same time?
I don't actually have one of those.
Oh, okay.
I've always admired them, but I think we've talked about this a little too much, probably. And Phil, great.
And we're going to end up
segue
cutting
there,
this out. Hey, this is probably going to be the best part of the pod for most people, and Trent's going to cut it out because he does selective editing, and basically all the fun parts of the pod get cut out. But sure, yeah, we can jump into this week's NFL lineup. Do you want to get into Jordan's?
Yeah, let's get into it. You know, we're going to start with our Thursday night football, and Thursday night football preview is brought to you by our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is a great place to play DFS sports. They got the pick'ems right now. Enter promo code dudes. They'll match you up to $1,000. No special plays right now at the moment. Like last week, we had Patrick Mahomes had to throw over 0.5 passing yards. This week, what they're talking about is it is Boost-tober. So remember, Phil, you told me to wake you up when September ends. It's October. So Boost-tober, there's be boosts every day. I believe at the moment they are boosting 30% on all WNBA plays. So go ahead and check that out, Jordan. Also another thing you want to check out for Underdog Fantasy, we have an Underdog Fantasy show on YouTube every Friday. So you got to go to YouTube at TFF Dudes. Jordan and Seth been bringing it on that. Go check that out, guys. Everything's timestamped. We got stuff timestamped on here too. But without further ado, Phil, let's jump into Thursday night matchup. Then we will go to the rest of our starts, sits, and sleepers.
Do you want to do Jordan's? Do you want to do Jordan? You want to give us who won last week?
Good idea.
Yeah.
Phil.
So last week, Seth went 8-8. He was last. I went 9-7. Phil went 10-6, and Trent back to back. Honestly, 3 weeks in a row, Trent's won. So he is very solidly in the lead of this competition so far.
Who's the blind squirrel now, guys? You know, what are your excuses now? Like, I'm just curious. Phil,
we don't have 5 pair of Lululemon shorts. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe
honestly, the flexibility and everything in those, like, I'll give those credit. Not a sponsor. It's the THE short variegated mesh camo. Cannot recommend it enough. If I see another pair on there, I'll buy it too. So Phil, what do we got, buddy?
Here's the thing about me. I'll never wear another man's workout shorts. That's just something I won't do. But let's get into game one. Game one is Buccaneers at Falcons. Current total right now is 43.5, and Atlanta is favored at home by just 0.5. I was going to actually bring this up. Trent, you have a sit in this game. This is prime time. Cousins, Jordan. I have Jared Goff in one of my leagues. He's on bye. Talking about just picking up various players. I had to pick up Kirk Cousins. I'm starting him. I'm a little bit nervous that I'm starting him on Thursday. Any advice you can give to a young guy like me?
Like Kirk Cousins? Like what?
That was all that was available. I didn't have a second quarterback.
I mean,
here, let me tell you. Do you want me to tell you who's available? Here, let me tell you who's available.
Here,
I'll tell you guys who's available. I have no problem. I have nothing to hide from you guys. Here are the people who are available in that league. Daniel Jones.
Hide stuff.
Daniel Jones playing against Seattle. Deshaun Watson playing against Washington. Aaron Rodgers questionable playing against Minnesota. Trevor Lawrence playing against Indiana, or Andy Dalton playing against Chicago.
It's really gross, but like Deshaun Watson at Washington, like Amari Cooper had a TD, like an 80-yard TD called back for a penalty last week for the Raiders.
I think Aaron Rodgers against Minnesota.
That defense is pretty ill. They just got
it's not Trent. But here's the thing. They give up like the most fantasy, like they're right there with the most fantasy points of wide receivers. Like they give up a ton of passing yards. Let me see here. They give up
and Rodgers is dealing with some swelling in his knee for what it's worth.
Yeah, I don't love that. I guess they just give up a lot of passing yards. It's not the worst matchup. This sounds gross. I can't stand him anymore. But no, I shouldn't say that. But Trevor Lawrence against Indianapolis is a really good matchup for whatever it's worth. Like,
yeah, and he has two wide receivers in the top 5 for separation right now too. Jordan, did you see that?
Christian Kirk and guys left Thomas and right. Jr. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, if you're worried about Kirk Cousins on primetime game, Phil. But yeah, I feel like Watson's game should have been better versus the Raiders, but I don't blame you for not wanting to play him at all. So.
Yeah, it's just a tough one. But Trent, you want to get into your sit here?
Yeah, I'll get into my sit here. So this pains me because I've been a fan for a while. And honestly, the position I'm going with, like it's not going to take a lot for him to get into the top 10. That's what's tough about doing this.
Totally.
But I have Kyle Pitts as my sit of the week here at tight end. He is tight end 17 on the season. I know the Bucs are beat up. Tight end 18 on targets, and he's getting 13% of the targets. He's actually tight end 10 in air yards with 143. But if you have Kyle Pitts on your team right now, I think you need to wait for him to have a good game and maybe trade him for something. Like he's the number 4 option on that team behind Drake London, Darnell Mooney, and Ray McLeod. I really want him to be good. And maybe you might even throw Bijan as a guy that Kirk Cousins looking for more too there. And the coach said stats are for losers past week. So maybe that puts a little gas on the fire to get Kyle Pitts going. But I don't think you have to play Kyle Pitts being tight end 17. You're hoping for another maybe touchdown pass in this game. Maybe I'm just venting and mad about this, but I don't think you have to play Kyle Pitts. But then again, I don't know who you really can play at the tight end position anyways. So yeah, Mark Andrews back-to-back goose eggs. Kyle Pitts isn't playing good. What were you going to say, Seth?
Honestly, I think if you want to trade Kyle Pitts for Mark Andrews, I think you should do it. But I'm going to say, like, if you want to sit a guy, especially a guy who hasn't been doing anything all year, sit a guy who's playing on Thursday night. I mean, we know it's going to be a lower point total, even though this game is a little bit higher than what I thought it would be for a Thursday game. Kyle Pitts is not going to be involved this game. I just have a feeling. I have a good feeling about this one, Trent. I think it's an easy sit.
Jordan, what are you thinking? I know you're not a huge Pitts guy, but
no, my only question is, did Arthur Smith like transform and switch bodies with Raheem Morris? Is that what happened last week, or what happened there?
Yeah, they're winning.
Bijan got out carried by by Algier. Like, I don't even. That was a weird It's like Arthur Smith just transformed himself in Raheem Morris. I don't know. Very bizarre situation going on.
Algier, I don't think got any red zone carries though. But still, it's weird that Algier's
out carried him. Like it doesn't.
Yeah,
it doesn't really make any sense. Like, so we have 18-3, 14-9, 16-7, and then all of a sudden 8-7 in favor of Tyler Algier for carries. Yeah. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
Were they on a roll maybe when they had him in for like 2 different drives? They had him in and they were on a roll. Because I will say, every time I watch Algier run the ball, he actually gets good yards per carry.
Yeah.
I actually think he's a pretty good player. He's just stuck behind Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, it's a good spot for the running backs in general in this game. And then I think it's I like Baker in this game too. I think
Bucs are the 21st. Bucs are the 21st toughest team against tight ends on the season too so far. For just notes there. I like Baker too, Jordan. Baker, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. I'm not sure who that third guy is that you want to play.
It's the running backs. It's the running backs. Like it's the running backs are the third pass catcher, whoever's in.
Yep.
What do you think?
What
are you thinking of? Oh, go Phil.
No, I was going to say one of the biggest things about the tight ends this year that maybe because they became not because of fantasy necessarily, but they really just increased in popularity. How many tight ends are we seeing swapping out? Like the Seahawks, I hate to bring up the Seahawks, make it a Seahawks pod. Seahawks were one of the only teams that were rapidly swapping out tight ends and targeting like 2 or 3 of them in a game. Now you're seeing this, I think, over the last year or so across the board where multiple tight ends be getting passes legitimately targeted to them on a consistent basis. Am I off or am I just realizing it more because I'm paying attention to tight ends more? But I feel like they are picking up just in terms of like how many named or known named tight ends that you have on a team and that they're just a lot of them are catching passes on the team. Does that make sense a little bit?
It might be the way they're playing. All these teams are playing that too high safety look. And so it does kind of soften up the middle and the flats. And I think quarterbacks are maybe dumping down and taking the short stuff a lot more than maybe they have in the past, So
cover two
I don't know.
is
It's
definitely changing how the game's being played. Way less big plays for sure.
I mean, they have who's it? Hunter Henry at the Patriots, and then Austin Hooper is the guy who caught the tight end. Like what? I caught the TD last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow, all right. What were you saying, Trent? Sorry.
Running backs here, like, do you think you can start up Rashad White, and Bucky Irving, Jordan? The snap percentage.
It went 58-42 last week after being like in the 70s, 30s before. So I think that's where they kind of settle in that 60-40, 55-45 range. So I think both are in play. Like, they're both going to get used in the pass game a good amount. So I think last week Rashad White had 3 targets, Bucky had 2. So, but they were also winning that game by a lot. It was never really close. So.
Yeah. Anything we want to talk about on the Falcons side? You got to play Bijan. You're playing Drake London. If you're Phil, you're playing Kirk Cousins. I think you can play Darnell Mooney if you have to. You got bye weeks. I don't hate Darnell Mooney ever, and I'm not as big on Ray McLeod. I'm gonna say Bucks win this game. I'm going Bucks.
I got Bucks too.
I need Kirk Cousins. I'm going Atlanta.
All right. And we will jump into the rest of the week 5 starts and sits after that. And those are brought to you by our friends over at Sleeper. Yeah, they got the dynamic payouts. They now have the Sleeper Zone where you can check all your scores that are going on in fantasy football. Check out that Sleeper Zone. It's really cool. And enter promo code DUDES100, guys. They'll match up to $100. You can do all kinds of plays, all kinds of good stuff over at Sleeper. And tell them the dudes sent you with that DUDES100. Phil, what do we got next?
The next game that we have here is Packers at Rams. Current total right now is 47.5. Green Bay is favored by 3. Seth, you have a start in this game.
Yeah, so my start this week is Dontavian Wicks. So he had an incredible game last week, 13 targets, 7 receptions, 78 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So he actually had the most targets, but Reed led the team in yards, but he also had the most touchdowns. This was just a crazy throwing game, I will say, by Jordan Love, because they were down by 4 touchdowns, and so they had to throw the ball like crazy. They almost came back, even though Green Bay had a lost fumble, and they also threw 3 interceptions. So it just shows you that this Packers team can throw the ball a lot and still come back even when they're down. So I think they're going to lean on their passing game pretty hard. I'm not sure if they're going to be losing like they were to the Vikings last week to the Rams, but I do think with Christian Watson having a high ankle sprain, so he's not going to be playing, Wicks is going to be that. I don't know if he's going to be the number 2 or number 3 yet, but from what I've seen, he has the highest target share when running routes, and he's going to be running a lot of routes. He's going to be out in the field. I think he is going to overtake Dubs this week, and that's why he's going to be my start. I think we can see a similar amount of targets and catches and probably yards this week, and I'm hoping for 1 touchdown. So I'm seeing from what I think is going to be around 12 points or higher this week, which is a good start from a player that you can probably get on the waiver wire. From what everywhere I've seen, he was the waiver wire out of the week. So if he's still on the waiver wire for you guys, grab him and throw him in your flex spot and start him, especially with bye weeks. This is a guy you need to get and throw in your lineup if you can.
Yeah, as long as Watson's out, do you think they're quitting on Watson, Jordan, or do you think like if Wicks plays
I don't
really
even
good,
think they were using Watson that much, even when Wicks was playing. They had the similar usage, I think.
Okay, because I know they drafted him, spent capital on him, but just looking at the usage of last week, targets per route run, Jaden Reed was at 18%, and Dontavian was at 15%. So. And the target's 11%, and Reed was at 16, so they're close.
Wicks was playing just a little bit less than Watson. I think week 3 it was 54 and 46. But the biggest thing is that basically it was basically a 4-man rotation with Dubs, Reed. Like Reed was only in the 50s. Reed, Wicks, Watson, Dubs. And when Watson went out, it was a pretty concentrated 3-man rotation with 86% Dubs, 78% Reeds, 76% Wicks, because only 12% Watson. So it seems like after Bo Melton pretty much phased out, Heath phased out, and they primarily went just with the 3 guys. So that is pretty encouraging to know that it's the three. It's Wicks, Dubs, and Reed. So I really like Jordan Love in this game. I think it's such a good matchup for quarterbacks and wide receivers here in this past game. So I think Love has a big game. I like all the receivers. Completely agree with. I think I like Dubs the least, but I still like him.
Yeah, and I think you can play Tucker Kraft too, Jordan. He had a big
Yeah.
game last week. Rams are the 5th worst team against the tight end, on average giving 20.1 fantasy points. Sorry, they're the 5th worst against quarterbacks. They're giving 20.1 points to the quarterback per week. That's what they're averaging. And they are the best tight end matchup, giving 9.9 fantasy points per game.
And like Tucker Kraft in weeks like 2 and 3 didn't do much, and even kind of week 1, but like, yeah, like, I mean, Jordan Love was hurt, right? So it's like it's hard to know exactly what it would have been like. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I like
but
Kraft too.
Yeah, the routes though.
He's way ahead of Musgrave.
Yeah, and I thought Musgrave was going to be the guy. I actually had Musgrave rostered in a league, deep league, and I dropped him for Kraft this past week. Rams side of the ball, you're firing up Kyron Williams. You Tutu Atwell maybe.
It's hard to know what Rams receiver, like they're basically playing wide receiver roulette over there. It's very. I think Whittington was probably your best receiver last week there. He had 6 for 62. Atwell had 4 for 82. Tyler Johnson's pretty much been phased out. See, last week they went with about 97% Whittington, 90% Atwell, 85% D-Rob, and only 16% Tyler Johnson. So I don't know. Yeah. Whittington's probably your safest, but it's tough between him and Atwell. I don't really know.
Yeah, basically Stafford's going to throw the ball to whoever's open. He's not going to be keying in a guy who he knows is going to be open. It's not like a Cup or Puka where he knows he's going to be open. It's just like, all right, look around, and if he looks open, throw him the ball. And that could be so many different guys. So
I'm tempted to stream the Packers defense against the Rams, but it's just the Rams would be throwing the whole game, and they probably put some points up. The Packers defense didn't do great against the Vikings last week, but Jay Alexander didn't play. So he was a scratch right before the game started, I believe. And that definitely hurts, the defense for sure. I'm going to say Rams do not win this game. I'm going Packers. Is anyone going Rams at home?
I'm going to go Green Bay.
Yeah, I'm going Green Bay as well.
Seth, what are you doing? Green Bay?
Cheese.
All right. Cheesy boy.
Guess so. All right. Moving on here. We have Panthers at Bears. Current total right now is 42.5. Chicago is currently favored by 3.5. Senor Trent, you have a start in this game.
Yeah, I do have a start in this game. This is a frustrating one. I think everyone who has him would agree with me, but I'm going with DeAndre Swift as my start of the week. Just going to keep picking on this Panthers. Defense. The only time the Panthers have not given up like top 5 fantasy points to running back this year has been Zamir White, who's one of my fantasy football running backs. My other one is DeAndre Swift. I like this spot. They're averaging 28.6 fantasy points per game to the running backs. So that's running backs as a whole. So like first string, second string, third string running backs, second best running back matchup on the week. And the Bears were very run heavy last week, and they should continue to be run heavy. I think that's the best thing for Caleb Williams. If they have success on the run, I think it opens stuff up. 57% of their plays were rush attempts last week. And DeAndre Swift had a really good game last week. He was probably on your bench. I think you have to play him this week with how bad the Panthers are against the run. Kind of a common theme of this pod is picking on the Panthers running defense. Deep leagues, waiver, buys. I think you can even play Roshan Jordan, and maybe he falls in the end zone. Like this is, J.K. Dobbins is on a bye. David Montgomery's on a bye. Jahmyr Gibbs is on a bye. There's not a lot of guys left right there. Like Saquon's on a bye. Saquon's on a bye. And Tony Pollard. Maybe you just have those guys. You need a guy. Roschon's maybe a guy that kind of
I
got a
mean-
little closer with DeAndre last week. Like,
No, he didn't get closer though, Trent. Like,
didn't he score a touchdown though?
yeah, but he played the same amount of
Less.
snaps as the week before. Swift played more snaps than the week before. Herbert didn't play at all. So,
Which
like,
helps.
I don't know. You're saying that I'd rather go Bucky Irving over Roschon.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think Bucky Irving's on your waiver wire. I think Roschon, if you don't have a guy, is a guy that's on your waiver wire.
Well,
Like
I mean,
Bucky's.
I feel like you should have
roster.
other guys on your roster. Like, I don't know.
Well, hopefully. Well, it's possible that a guy had Saquon Barkley and J.K. Dobbins on the same team, or Tony Pollard and Jahmyr Gibbs. Like that, those aren't out of like that's not a crazy thing to say. Like
They only
and
drafted through two running backs, or like I don't
know. I think there's a world out there with injuries, CMC guys, like where if you're in a pinch right now,
like my team,
like I'm saying for like 5 points.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have David Montgomery, Tyjae Spears on my this one team. Plus, I have Warren and Eckler possibly hurt. So, yeah, I guess I'm one of those guys that's hoping.
I'm talking to you.
Yeah, I'm talking to me, exactly.
What do you think about the DJ Moore news that's come out, Jordan? And maybe we can even ask Phil about this too. With
about like his
Yeah, it's
offensive
pretty
coordinator
interesting.
stuff.
Yeah, about JSN went off on the coordinator. Remember, he was like happy when the guy went to Chicago.
Yeah. And that DJ Moore's routes run are like just way like there's no complexity to them.
Yeah, it's like
No,
just like fades like every single play.
Yeah. It's not great. I'll say that. Like it
Yeah.
definitely isn't great.
I have DJ Moore in a lot of leagues. He doesn't look happy. Like he looks frustrated. I know he scored a touchdown last week, but
It's a good spot for him though.
It's a good spot. Yeah, exactly. So you got to keep playing him. What do you like on the Panthers side? Deontay's like the last 2 weeks, I think his average is wide receiver 1. Like he's just been going off, which, I like pumping his tires because I was really high on him off season. One of my dudes here with Andy Dalton's looked a lot better and they should be throwing the whole game outside. And I think Leggett, you can play Leggett, I think too, but Bears defense they're good.
They're pretty solid.
Yeah, they did good against the Texans. Yeah. Outside of those guys, you're playing Chuba. And on the Bears side, had a lot of guys ask me if they can drop Keenan Allen. I've been saying I need to see more out of Keenan Allen before I tell you to drop Keenan Allen because he just got back last week. Like,
yeah,
at the very least, try to trade him for a bag of peanuts, for goodness sakes. Probably have to play Cole Kmet. I have too many pieces in this game. I got Cole Kmet.
You're talking too long
DJ.
about this game, Trent.
Well, I'm kind of seeing if someone has anything else, but maybe I'm the only one who took notes on this game. But
no, I just think this game is simple. You just
I
play
don't think Cole
DeAndre
Kmet's gonna
Swift,
get used.
DJ Moore, play Chuba Hubbard, play Deontay Johnson, maybe Leggett, maybe Cole Kmet. Like I don't know. Like
nice little rhyme you did there, though. I like that. I'm going Bears win this one.
Yep.
I got Bears.
Chicago.
I am
Seth.
going. I'm going to say Andy Dalton pulls out another one. I'm going with Panthers here.
If that happens, you got to videotape yourself celebrating like Caleb Williams, Phil, how he was jumping up and down after that game.
If the Panthers win, I will paint my right pinky finger in honor of Caleb Williams. All right, do you want me to move on to the next game here, or do we need to say something else?
Yes, move on to the next game, buddy.
All right, next game here. We have Monday Night Football, Saints versus Chiefs. Kansas City is currently favored by 42.5. Kansas City favored at home by 5.5. Jordan has a start that I absolutely love. Jordo, are you a full-time Chiefs fan these days?
Not a full-time Chiefs fan, but I do like Xavier Worthy a lot this week. New Orleans gives up the 8th most receiving yards to wide receivers, but their fantasy points allowed to wide receivers has kind of been held down by the amount of touchdowns they've only given up 1 receiving touchdowns to wide receivers. So, but I think that's kind of due for some regression. If you're giving up that many yards, you're going to eventually give up touchdowns. And Xavier Worthy is a guy who can bust off that 50-yard touchdown like he did last week. Worthy played the most snaps last week than he had played the previous 3 weeks. The targets were the same. 4. He's about 3 to 4 every week. But I do think with the whole week to prepare for him as the number 1 wide receiver, I think they're going to find ways to scheme him in the game, get him more involved. They kind of have to without Rashee Rice. Like, it's him and Travis Kelce. They have to get Worthy the ball. They have to start throwing it to him. Yeah, Juju's going to be involved. Justin Watson's going to be involved. Sky Moore's going to be involved. Like, they're going to be involved. Hardman might get involved. But Worthy is their guy. He's their most talented guy. Without Rice, they have to have a better game plan for him, and I think they will. I think they've kind of been using him as like not a decoy guy, but like a kind of, okay, if he's open, we'll throw him the ball type of guy, like a big play guy, but I think they're going to get him the ball more in space. They're going to run him more on those routes that Rashee Rice ran, a lot of those crossing routes down the middle of the field. Because he's a guy who can take a slant to the house. Like, so he just hasn't been running that kind of stuff. Like, he really hasn't. There was one play, I think, in last week after the Rashee Rice injury where he kind of took one. He kind of caught a ball in the middle of the field, and they were kind of on a crossing pattern and took it about 10, 12 yards up the field. I think we get more of that out of him this week. And a solid matchup that I think is probably better than what it looks like on paper when you look at what they're giving up to wide receivers.
Jordan, you got a little chippy with me on Sunday about Patrick Mahomes being QB 16, me saying, like, should guys start streaming? Then I actually had people reaching out asking me the same thing. I had a lot of people tell me, like, thank goodness I started Sam Darnold this week instead of Patrick Mahomes. So I'm just letting you know, you did get a little upset with me about that. I think it was induced by other things, so I forgive you. But there are other people out there who have Patrick Mahomes who are not just locking him in and playing him every single week. Just throwing it out there. But I know it'll kill you if he goes off on your bench.
Well, here's what I'll say. I'm not benching the second, I think the best, but consensus second best quarterback of our generation. So, like, of the last 20 years, second best quarterback, I'm not putting him on the bench. Like, until he's turned into Peyton Manning that basically retired, like, I'm not sitting him on the bench. Eventually, here's what I told you, Trent. He probably doesn't have the ceiling that he has anymore. I'll admit that. He's not going out and throwing for 320 yards a game like he used to.
Their defense is too good, too. Their defense is too
good. It doesn't help. But he probably has just as high a floor as any quarterback in the NFL. He's going to get you his 15 points almost every week. Like, his floor is ridiculously high. And to be honest, there's something to be said for that, because Kyler Murray just had 8 fantasy points last week. Like, Mahomes, very rarely is that happening to him. Like, as good as Jaden Daniels been, like, his outcomes, realm of outcomes is 6 points. That is an outcome for him. Like, these guys, Lamar Jackson can have that outcome of 6 points, but Patrick Mahomes' floors, he's going to get at least 14 to 15 every week. There's something to be said for that. And maybe his ceiling is not the 30 that it used to be. Maybe his ceiling is 24. It's going to, he's going to have games where he does well. So, yeah, sure. Like, if you have Jaden Daniels on your team, there's a conversation there. Like, I'm not starting Sam Darnold over Patrick Mahomes. Like, it just, I don't know.
He's the only QB. He's the only QB who's thrown multiple TDs in each game this year, though, Jordan.
I know, but I mean, you could do that at your own. Like, that's on you. If you want to do it, go for it.
Here's the thing. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is due. I will say that, but it's been since he had some good playoff games, so we're not counting those because those aren't fantasy relevant. But it's been since week 12 last year that he's finished inside QB 10 in fantasy football. So, it's been a very long slump for Mahomes, and it'd be nice for him to get out of that. Maybe, I think it's mostly defense is too good.
The defense is too good. The running game's been good. I mean, Kareem Hunt looked pretty good last week for someone who, off the street, old for NFL running backs. He looked good. So yeah, I mean, it's their willingness to run the ball. It's the willingness to kind of just take what the defense gives you. Patrick Mahomes doesn't have to sling the rock 50 times anymore. So yeah, I mean, maybe, but again, I think his floor is super high. So
Yeah. Kelsey owners, I think, are about to be rewarded. He is tight end 1 in air yards right now with 189. Saints are 28th best defense against quarterbacks. So they're very good against fantasy quarterbacks in the season. Look at the quarterbacks they've played, though. They had that game versus Jalen Hurts where no one could score any points. That game, well, I guess Dak Prescott did come back in that game. And then week 1, I can't remember who they played. They beat somebody up
They
in week
played
1.
they played Bryce Young.
Yeah. So there you go. Anything else in this game? I think you're starting Worthy, you're starting Kelsey, Kareem Hunt. Saints side, Derek Carr is 1-8 all time versus Patrick Mahomes. So
You're not playing.
probably
Derek
not going to be
Carr.
much better. Olave,
Kamara.
Shaheed in a deep league. Yeah, you got to play Kamara.
That's it.
It's really Olave, Kamara. Those are your two Saints. I think that you feel pretty good about starting.
Yeah, I'm going to go Chiefs win this game.
I'm
This is the
going
Monday Night
Chiefs.
Football.
Chiefs as well. I should have taken this one and gone Saints, but now I'm a mess
now you're-
myself over
Now
here.
you're playing catch up.
Now I'm playing catch up, not to be confused with your favorite condiment, ketchup. But yes, I am playing
Simple
catch up.
mistake.
All right, moving on. We have Giants at Seahawks. Current total right now is 43.5. Seahawks are currently favored by 6.5. Man, that was a fun game on Monday. I had a good time. Did you guys watch the game?
Absolutely. Yeah, that was a good one.
It's a fun
Yeah,
game.
Actually, a good primetime game. Actually, a
Great
good football
primetime game. High scoring game. Was it 47-35?
Yeah, Jared Goff has more touchdown catches than I think Garrett Wilson, Travis Kelce, and Sam Laporta combined. Yeah, it was a fun game. Lions are the only team to have two guys have perfect passer ratings and both have caught a TD pass in the same game. So it's kind of cool, seeing Amon
and
throw
have thrown
and catch.
one.
Yeah, so they both no incompletions on the Lions' part in that game. And
Well, that's
both
what I said.
multiple
It's the most completions ever in the most attempts and completions, like perfect. But the only way to qualify for that record is to have 20 attempts.
Yeah.
So technically, Jared Goff doesn't count, which is kind of dumb in my opinion. But I get it.
18 for 18.
I saw this thing on Instagram. It says your Chrysler 300 looks like a Bentley until a Bentley rolls up, and it was like basically the interaction between DK Metcalf and Megatron. And I was like, dude, Megatron looks like a whole nose and forehead taller than DK Metcalf. It is. I always think of DK Metcalf as just a specimen, and Megatron is just huge. Which we all know, but you see him next to DK and you're like, oh man, he dwarfs DK. Just absolutely crazy.
Did that kind of hurt you a little bit, Phil? Because I know you're a huge DK guy, like DK everything. Like you sleep with the same mouthpiece he has.
Sleep with the same mouthpiece. I think you've done the same iconic photo that he did where he's holding the luggage, like waiting for the bus to come. And like the leather outfit. I think you've done that.
Not cool.
Yes,
or true, not cool or true. Seth, getting your sleeper for this
Trent,
guy.
I have a sleeper this game, believe it or not.
Yes, no, I knew that. We were just talking, we were talking football, man. We're here
talking shop,
talking
Seth.
football. Yeah, come
seriously,
on,
man.
All right, now let the expert talk. Okay. Wan'Dale Robinson is my
more like Yondale.
Yes, Wan'Dale Robinson. Last 2 weeks, he's had 22 targets, 18 catches, 132 yards. He is above 8.5 half-point fantasy points every game. He's above that. I believe the Giants are going to be down this game. The game script's going to be them being down. Jones is going to have to throw the ball, and Wan'Dale is the number 2 in this offense. And one thing to keep in mind right now is that Nabers did not practice today. He got a concussion last week, so he didn't practice today. It's something to monitor. So if he's out this week, this is just an absolute smash for Wan'Dale. He's going to be getting basically every target you can imagine. Daniel Jones is going to try to get him the ball. So this guy really does get these shorter route catches for, like he gets these 3-yard 3-yard dump down, not really dump downs, but 3-yard slants or these 3-yard curls or these under 10-yard routes. And he's really going to benefit from that. Whereas Nabers is maybe the more dynamic receiver. Wandale is definitely the slot guy who's getting all these little smaller passes. And I think, especially if you have him in PPR, like this is an absolute smash sleeper. But I'm going to be firing him up in every league I can get him in, especially with buys for sure.
Yeah. Wandale right now he is 11th in the NFL in target percentage. He's at 28%. His ADOT is only 4.8 right now. So,
yeah, so
very
super small ADOT, just super tiny routes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, 18 catches, 132 yards. That's a lot of catches for not very many yards. But still, like he's still getting a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you're happy if you get 8.5 fantasy points out of a guy you picked up to start for a guy you have on your bench.
So Nabers, they saying he is in the early stage of concussion protocol still. Didn't practice today. So I'm going to start playing like I have Nabers on one of my main teams. I'm going to assume that Nabers is out this week. So I think that's kind of how we have to play it. So Wandale, I think, is really, really good here. Like Seth said, I'll be curious what his reception props are because I think that is something I might want to target. So, but we probably don't get those until later in the week.
If it's if it's like 5 or 6, the over is going to be easy.
Yeah, but you're talking targets, not catches, Jordan.
No catches, I believe.
No, I mean, you can find target lines out there, but I was just kind of thinking his catches. So like he's been 7 for 61, 11 for 71, 6 for 44. My guess is that, but 2 for 18 in between there. My guess is it's going to be about 5.5. And I think I like the over there if Nabers is out.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get a 4.5, I think that's like really, really good. But I don't know if we'll see that line.
Seahawks kind of feast on bad teams so far this year. And they've been really good against bad quarterbacks and bad offenses. So like right now versus wide receivers, the Seahawks are 25th. The 25th hardest matchup for wide receivers. Seahawks are giving up 21 fantasy points per game to all wide receivers on the field. So it's not, so that means, but Wandale, there's not going to be anyone else there. So he's going to be getting in with that low 4.1 yards per attempt. ADOT.
Yeah, you're not playing defense for these tiny routes. Like, sure, you're willing to give up a 3-yard catch.
But I mean,
but I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's the easiest route to run and catch a ball.
I think Nabers would help him a lot.
No, Nabers will help, but I mean, he's going to get the work. Like, he should get at least 10 targets this game, especially if Nabers doesn't play. At least 10.
Mm-hmm.
I really like all the Seahawks here too. Like, I think DK could have a really big game. Jason could have a good game, and I think Walker was so good last week. Kind of makes
Texas Ranger, baby.
Have him, but those 3 guys I think are all playable. I think Geno's playable if you need him, but I really like the Seahawks here.
Yeah,
I think Seahawks. This is an absolute. Sorry, go ahead, Trent.
No, I'm saying I'm going Seahawks.
Hawks, baby.
Yeah. So that was tough, Phil. Sorry. Phil, I'm just glad you're doing okay that your second favorite team beat your first favorite team. Like everyone knew getting on this pod that you were going to talk about like, yeah, my Lions beat my Seahawks. Like it was really hard. Like I was cheering for every first down in the game. So like the black helmets the Lions had and everything. So yeah, I'm happy you are doing okay.
It was a rough Monday night. You know, I didn't even want to watch the game because I was so nervous for both teams. You know,
didn't eat anything all day.
That's actually true. I fast all Monday. Did you guys know that?
You're not supposed to brag about fasting, just so you know, just a little biblical reference.
No, it's not. If it's not for biblical purposes,
you just didn't have any food in the house, Phil.
No, it's just eating,
saving cash.
All right.
He ran out of Hot Pockets. That's why.
Burritos. All right.
Microwave.
Beth, are you taking the Seahawks or are you going to turn your back on them like you do to all your other friends?
I took the Seahawks last week, you doofus. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
taking
to
the
be
Seahawks.
fair, his friends turned their back on him, so not cool to bring that
Zing.
up, Phil.
Yeah, get your
yeah.
head out of the sand, Seth.
Okay. I said that to Phil like 2 days
That's
ago, and
such
he
a
will
good
not
burn.
stop saying it to me. He will not stop. It's so annoying.
All right,
Next
go
game,
ahead,
Phil.
Jordan. Who'd you take? Did Jordan take
Everybody
someone?
said Hawks.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
You're just trying to make this pod called Hawks Nest or something.
All right, we have a revenge game coming up here. We have the Bill versus Texans. I love how Trent calls it Bill instead of Bills. Bills versus Texans. The current total right now is 47.5. Buffalo is currently favored by 1.5 in Houston. TJ, you have a sleeper in this game. I love how you said Bill instead of Bills when it's very obviously Bills, but this is a revenge game from Stefon Diggs. Like I think there hasn't been enough of a narrative surrounding the fact that the Bills are playing so well without him, with the exception. I mean, they did lose to the Ravens, but like they're doing pretty good.
No,
I will
agree.
say, hold on, if there's a spelling bee, life or death spelling bee, Trent's dying and the whole world is dying. Okay.
If you had to call one person to
Yeah.
spell a word, basically Trent's like not on your
Trent's at
speed
the
dial.
very bottom, dude.
Yeah, I'm surprised Phil actually read that right because he wants to make fun of my spelling. I've spelled a couple of these things wrong on purpose, and he didn't read them. So that's a whole nother besides the point. If you want to go to Team 1, Phil, and see what's on there. But my sleeper of the week, I have Keon Coleman. I think this is the game he finally, comes to play. He's going up against the guy. He's going up against the guy that he's replacing, Stefon Diggs. This is the game I'm looking forward to the most. Keon Coleman is what was I going to say? I just had, this is just a gut play here. I think Keon Coleman gets some catches, get some TDs, play all. Josh Allen's going all out in this game. This is going to be, he does not want to lose to the Texans in Houston with his old favorite toy that someone went and, got off the waiver wire practically, failure against using other people's shorts. What about other people's wide receivers? So anyways, I got Keon Coleman just for the whole, rookie. This is the guy that they want to have, that they waited, didn't trade up for. Phil, what do you think about Diggs? This, you happy? You excited for this?
I'm excited for this. Like, I don't know. I want to know if Diggs and Allen are still buddies. Is there any beef there?
I don't think they're buddies. Like Stefon Diggs said earlier this week that he's never had, his mental health was the worst it's ever been in his life last year playing for the Bills. Like, I think you saw it on the field with how little he was getting the ball. He dropped the passes versus the Chiefs that maybe would have won the game for him. Like, I wonder, I'm guessing they probably shake hands. I don't know if there's a hug. They used to be like Call of Duty partners. I don't think they're still playing. There's a lot of
I
other
think
things
there's obviously bad blood, right?
Really, the only person I feel like Diggs is really hurt is Tank Dell, which a lot of people have asking me if they can drop Tank Dell. And then I think you can drop Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz is tight end 25 in targets at 11% of the targets. I don't think you need to hold Dalton Schultz anymore. I think you can go get somebody else. Like, it's Diggs, it's Nico Collins, and that's about it, really, in the passing game. Like, do you want to play anyone else in the offense, Jordan?
So Dell's going to play this week, and there's a lot of Stroud talking about how they have to get Dell going, that he's one of the best wide receivers in the league in Stroud's opinion, and they got to figure out a way to get him the ball. So there's good coach speak, player speak, quarterback speak to Tank Dell. But yeah, I mean, Diggs is kind of taking over that wide receiver 2 role. Nico Collins is an absolute stud. Like, if there was the thing I was the most wrong about in the offseason is Nico Collins. Like, that guy should have been a first-round pick. Like, and I was I don't think I got him in anything. And that was the biggest mistake I made all offseason. So,
you know what's actually crazy? I'm sorry to interrupt, but something that's actually crazy, I was looking at different draft boards. Malik Nabers went pretty late in my draft. Like, you could have very, very easily had Justin Jefferson, Malik Nabers, Nico Collins, and someone like a Devonta Smith on your team. You could have those 4 guys on your team.
Maybe
that's
even
how you could have drafted.
I mean, I know that doesn't look good now, but it's still like I don't know. Like
I don't know if you think you could have got Jefferson and Cup.
Yeah.
Depending how early you went. Yeah.
I'll say this: there's a lot of best ball teams out there, like Seth just said.
Yeah.
with like
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson,
that's a
Malik
crazy team.
Nabers, Nico Collins, and then maybe even like a Debo. Like there's a lot of best ball teams out there like that in the best ball formats where like you play 3 wide receivers plus a flex, so you can play 4 wide receivers. There's a lot of teams that they drafted early, like late August or mid August, where the Neighbors ADP was real low, and Justin Jefferson. So it's very easily could have happened.
Yeah. Nico Collins is getting 78% of the end zone targets right now.
Well, he just he's a stud. Like
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
always open. And but back to this game, Trent, like I do think on the other side of the game, like it's a pretty good spot for, like you said, Keon Coleman, Shakir, Kincaid. I like this Houston secondary is not that good. Like I think Trevor Lawrence probably had his best day statistically last week of the year, and Brian Thomas and Christian Kirk had solid days, and Brian Thomas's day could have been awesome last week. I think Trevor Lawrence missed him wide open on a double move. So like I could see a big, maybe Keon Coleman kind of plays that role. I like the Buffalo passing game here this week. I think it's a pretty solid matchup. I think this Houston secondary isn't as good as maybe what they look like on paper.
Yeah, they're the 10th best matchup for wide receivers on paper. And just reading off just red zone targets just for fun. Top 5 guys getting red zone targets in the NFL right now. We got Cortland Sutton at 1 at 100%, Nico Collins 2 at 78%, Marvin Harrison 3 at 75%, Deontay Johnson 4 at 67%, and Malik Nabers at 5 with 60%. So we got two rookies in the top 5.
Yeah, I will say that stat might be a little bit deceiving, Trent, considering I think 4 of those 5 teams don't go to the red zone very much.
Yeah, so. and Cortland Sutton, how many touchdowns does he have? You know what I mean? So like when they get there, they're throwing.
Yeah, you have to get in the red zone to get red zone targets, and those teams
he might
aren't
have one.
doing that very much.
He might have one.
Real quick, I do think if Joe Mixon plays, it's a pretty good spot for him.
It is.
We saw what Derrick Henry and Justice Hill just did this Buffalo run defense. The problem is if it's Cam Akers, I don't know if I want any part of that. So,
yeah, been there, done that. I'm going to say Bills win this game. I feel like Josh Allen I don't see the Bills losing 2 in a row. It is a tough matchup, but I don't see Josh Allen going back-to-back games losing, especially how bad they got humiliated last week.
I got Buffalo too.
Bills.
It's in Buffalo. Yeah, I'm
Houston.
It's in Houston.
Going Bills.
Okay, Bills all the way across. Bills Mafia pod, basically. Phil,
all right. We have a 6 a.m. game on Sunday. On Sunday morning, it is it's across the pond. Get your tea and crumpets, sit down, and get ready for some football, boys. It is the Jets at the Vikings, or the Vikings rather, are the home team. Current total right now is 40.5. Minnesota is currently favored by 2.5. It is my daughter's birthday that day, so I will probably be waking up, probably wrapping some gifts before she comes down. If I don't do it the night before, watch some football, drink my coffee before the festivities begin. I remember last year, Seth, sorry to put you on the spot here, when there was a team who played back-to-back weeks in England and you were questioning whether or not they were going to be flying back and forth from the States.
That is not
something
true.
that I will absolutely never forget.
Not true.
As much as I love you,
Seth
that was
like,
not.
Yeah, Seth was like, "Tally ho, boys! They're gonna fly back, then go back." It's like, okay,
not
Seth,
true. That is so stupid.
I will find the tape, Seth. I was like,
that
I don't
is not true.
Explain yourself.
No, I just don't even remember that. It's so dumb.
You blocked it out of your memory. All right,
I'd forget that too, buddy.
All right, Jordan. I'm going to pass it over to you, and I'm going to let you cover your sleeper here.
Yeah, this game will be interesting. I think Sunday morning here. The Vikings have been really good, but they also give up the third most third most fantasy points to wide receivers and the most receiving yards to wide receivers. But it is interesting because they don't give up a lot of fantasy points to quarterbacks, but they give up, let's see here, they give up
They're giving up
27
35
fantasy points. 27 fantasy points per game to wide receivers. So there's a lot of stuff here to go around. And yeah, I have Alan Lazard as a sleeper. Garrett Wilson is the number one. I do think Garrett Wilson has a good game, but I saw Alan Lazard ranked in like the low 50s somewhere. And so, I mean, I think that's too low. Lazard played 88% of snaps last week. He had 8 targets last week. So in comparison to Garrett Wilson has 34 targets on the year. Alan Lazard has 24. That's like 2 targets per game. It's really not that much, considering how far the gap is and what they're perceived as, on a week-to-week basis. I think we could see it. This is assuming Aaron Rodgers plays. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't play, I like this a lot less. I'm going to assume that he plays in London. But I think we could see vintage Rodgers in this matchup, especially or more like vintage wide receiver numbers on an Aaron Rodgers team. I think we get big games from Alan Lazard. I mean, Garrett Wilson, I think, could be like a first top 10 week of the year. I don't think he has one yet this year. And then I think Alan Lazard could be a top 30 wide receiver. So I really like Lazard this week. I think he is really in line to have a good game. I like his props. We might get that tomorrow on our Set the Night show that we do on YouTube. Like his props. I really like Alan Lazard this week.
Lazzy.
Yeah, Rodgers going back playing an NFC North rival there. Breece Hall, kind of not a great spot, Jordan.
It's a bad, like, they are more of a pass funnel defense than anything else. Like, they do not give up yards in the ground, but they will give it up through the air. I mean, we saw that last week with Green Bay, right? Jordan Love went crazy, and that defense forces turnovers, but that doesn't hurt you when you're playing passing games on the opposing team because they're just going to get the ball right back. Like, it gets them down in games, gets them in good game scripts. So, like, even if the Vikings are up, like, maybe they get a forced fumble, and they go take it to the house. Well, then they get the ball right back, and now they're down. Maybe they get down 14-0. Like, and I think the Vikings are going to score enough points to force this Jets team to kind of have to actually play. I think sometimes these Jets games get in slogfest because they don't really have to do anything. But this Minnesota team was really good against the run, and they're kind of more bend and break against in the pass game.
Yeah. 29th worst matchup for running backs, the Minnesota Vikings. Defense is real good against the run. Yeah, and Breece Hall has not played good. And anything like Viking side, fire up Jordan Addison. Darnold's been using he's been using the number 2 wide receiver all year.
I know. I don't like this matchup. I don't know. The Jets only give up 17 fantasy points per game to wide receivers. So that's like 8th, 9th best. They'll give up the third. They've only given up 400 yards on the year to wide receivers, 2 touchdowns. So, like, it's not the best matchup for
you think
Sam
this
Darnold.
is an Aaron Jones game?
I think it's more of an Aaron Jones game.
Okay.
So, like, the Jets give up
on the ground.
They're better. Like, it's like 13th most rushing yards on the ground. So, like, it's a better matchup for Aaron Jones. I think this is a tough game. I think the Vikings do put up points. So I like Justin Jefferson here. I don't know. I don't want to go too crazy on that side,
40.5. I like the Vikings coach, how he said organizations fail quarterbacks. Quarterbacks don't fail organizations. I thought that was an interesting thing to say. And I also thought it was true. I'm going to go Vikings win this game just because I don't know what. I just don't know if Rodgers is playing, so I got to go with Vikings at the moment.
Yeah. Well, what's
Vikings
the line,
for sure.
Trent? What's the line?
I got it
It's
for ya.
2.5 Minnesota.
Let me look at what it currently is.
Yeah. And the other thing,
2.5. He's playing, Trent. If he wasn't
Okay.
playing, this line would be 5.5. I mean, 4.5. Like I can't see it being 2.5. Like, and him, if there was any question of him not playing, this line would be higher. So obviously that could change, but
yeah, he just lost the Broncos. You know what I mean? Like, this offense needs to get in a rhythm. They got to get going. Do you think they get Devontae Adams?
I don't know. I think
There's a lot of
there's
talk
a
about that
possibility
right
there.
now. Yeah.
So Trent, you're taking Minnesota?
I'm going Minnesota. Anyone going Jets? Phil's going Jets.
I'm going to take the Jets.
Yeah, I'm
Sad.
taking Jets.
I'm going the Vikings.
Skull,
Skull.
baby.
All right. In our second to last game, where we actually have some action here, we have the Ravens at the Bengals. Current total right now is 50.5. Baltimore is favored by 2.5. Setherton, you have a sit in this game.
Yeah, so I know this is a high point total. I think it's the high this week at 50.5. Baltimore's favored here. I think Baltimore is just very comfortable running the ball and destroying teams by running the ball and maybe supplementing with some little passes here and there. Zay Flowers last 2 weeks, only 6 targets, 2 catches, 30 yards. So absolutely non-existent. If you look at what's happened to the Bengals this week, these last 4 weeks, is they've allowed one fantasy player as of running back to have 20 points or more every game. Teams who split carries, all running backs combined were about 25 together or more. And the Ravens are just going to run the ball against this Bengals team, and they're going to beat them up this way. Derrick Henry should have a great game. Lamar Jackson, if he runs, should have a great game. I just don't think they're going to have to throw the ball that much, like probably similar to how much they threw the ball last week against the Bills, which was hardly any at all. Zay Flowers is going to be hurting because of this. I think if you have him, you sit him this week. I'm going to be doing it in a dynasty league. I'm not going to start him. Hurts to say it, but I'm not going to, because it's been frustrating owning him when all the team does is want to run the ball. But I mean, can you blame him when it works? Not really. So Zay Flowers, sit this week.
Okay.
Yep.
Other side of the ball. I think Jamar Chase, you're playing him. Burrow. This is a big divisional game here. What notes do you have here, Jordan?
I think it's a really good spot for Burrow, Chase, and Higgins. Pretty good spot for the pass game. Not a good spot for the running game on the Bengals side. And then I think, pretty much to echo Seth's point about Zay Flowers, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and even Justice Hill, like if you had to pick a third, those would be the 3 guys that I trust the most right now for the Ravens. But it's mostly just Henry and Lamar. So I think it's a really good spot for Derrick Henry. I think he could have a nice game here. But this game's pretty, like, for such a high total, it seems pretty cut and dry for me, just because I don't trust much on the Ravens.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. You know, it's weird that, like, Mark Andrews, like, I have no problem sitting Mark Andrews right now.
Yeah, you can't start him.
Back to
You
back.
can't start Isaiah Likely either. You can't do that Likely.
No, it's just a completely weird thing there. Justice Hill, bye week guy, might be a good guy to play. You know,
he's a guy that Trent, who were you talking about earlier? You were talking about
Roshan Johnson. I like Justice Hill.
I'm playing Justice Hill over Roshan Johnson every single time.
Yeah. No, they just do Monken does a good job getting him in positions where he can take advantage of linebackers. And if
he's their best receiver, Trent.
Yeah.
He's literally their best receiving option is Justice Hill.
Yeah. Are they putting him out in slot, Jordan, or is this all just out of the backfield?
No, but they design plays for him out of the backfield. Like, they design passes for him out of the backfield.
Yeah, no, Monken will find like a bad linebacker and he will pick on him. Yeah. With this running back. Yeah. So, and it's even tough. You put both of them out there on the field, Henry and Hill, you know, it really can mess with you. But I'm going Ravens win this game. I think they're playing too hot. Maybe it's what is it you say, Jordan, emotional win last week? Maybe the Bengals come out swinging. I don't know.
I'm going to go Cincinnati here.
It's in the jungle. It's in Cincy.
I'm
Broncos
staying with the
territory.
Ravens here.
Ticket prices dropped significantly when they were losing. Did you guys know that? You can get some. I think they were like $70. Not too
I
bad.
did not know that.
I'm going to go Bengals.
Who day?
All right. Moving on
Matchup of the
here.
century next, Phil.
Matchup of the century. This one is going to be fun. This is, I think, our lowest scoring game of the week. We have my boy. He goes by Snoop, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think that's so lame. I don't know. I'm not one of his good friends. I'm going to call him Snoop.
We have my boy Snoop Ty Huntley and the Dolphins going against the Patriots. Current total right now is 35.5. Miami still favored by 1.5. Jordan, you have a sit in this game. A guy who I think maybe it was a fake tweet, maybe it was a real tweet, was talking about being excited about trade rumors this morning. So talk to us, Jordo.
I honestly cannot believe I have Tyreek Hill to sit. Like, that's kind of insane to say out loud, but I think that's just where we're at, you know?
You're a bold dude.
In the games without Tua, he has 5 and 7 targets and 3 catches for 40 yards and 4 catches for 23 yards in those 2 games. I just don't trust anyone. Like, I don't trust Tyler Huntley. I don't trust Skylar Thompson. I don't trust what's the other joker they have? Tim Boyle. Like, I don't trust any of these guys like at quarterback. They can't get him the ball. The only way Tyreek Hill beats me at this point is if he houses a 10-yard slant for 80 yards, right? Like, he's going to have to break off a long one, and he's definitely possible, but it's not going to be a deep ball. It's going to be a shallow ball or a contested, like, it's just going to have to be something where he breaks a bunch of tackles and he goes, or it's busted coverage and he goes. Like, Huntley had him wide open for a deep ball and overthrew him last week. So I think teams are just going to be like, okay, we can't let Tyreek Hill beat us. We can't let Devin A-Chain beat us. Like, that's the only way. And this offense, they just can't move the ball. And it's a low total. This New England defense isn't bad. Like, they are a competitive defense. They probably have played over their heads a little bit the first couple of weeks, but they're still a fairly solid defense. So I can't believe it, but I think you have to sit Tyreek Hill. If you have, like, maybe you're on one of those teams, Seth said, where it's like you have Tyreek Hill, Nico Collins. I know Malik Nabers doesn't help this week, but like maybe you have Tyreek with like 3 other solid receivers. I think you're sitting Tyreek Hill this week.
Jordan, I said this okay, we'll go to that after. What are we doing with Jalen Waddle? Like, he's just like fantasy fodder. If
Tyreek Hill's a sit, then I think Jalen Waddle's
at what point is it just like this guy's just taking roster space? Like, can I drop him? You know, like,
it's
you can't
tough
trade
because the moment that Tua comes back, I think you like those guys again. And I do get the vibe that he is coming back in a couple of weeks. So, I mean, he has to. Like, he's on IR for 2 more weeks. He looks fine. I mean, I know there's a lot. I mean, I don't obviously looks don't matter, but
at this point, Tua needs to wear a guardian cap all the time, and he should be forced probably to wear one in the game. Just if he wants to keep playing. He should be
wearing one in the game. 100%.
I'm surprised. He's the only guy that I've been like, why isn't that guy wearing a guardian cap?
Yeah.
He's had the worst things. Like, he should be the poster child. Guardian cap should pay Tua money to wear a guardian cap every game.
Trent, he also like had no business not sliding at any time he feels someone around. I think this guy's problem is that he's a Hawaiian tough guy, right? Like, he's a Hawaiian warrior. Like, he's just not the guy who's going to go out there, and unless they literally say the only way you're playing is if you're wearing a guardian cap, which they might now, you know?
Yeah, NFL might.
He's just not. I will give him this. He's a tough guy, and he's not going to wear it unless he absolutely has to. Same thing with the sliding. Like, he just doesn't. It's just not in his nature to do it.
Yeah. And honestly, it sounds silly, but like I said this in a group text the other day with you, Jordan, you probably just rolled your eyes, but like what I'm seeing from the Dolphins this year, maybe Tua should have been higher up in the MVP talk last year, because this Dolphins offense a year ago scored 70 points. I don't even know if they have 70 points. They haven't been leading in one game this season.
Well, it's just because Tua's good at, like, he fits that offense really well. It's a timing offense, and he knows the timing down. You know, he knows the offense, and he's capable of getting the ball out quick and getting it to his guys in space.
Sorry, they
So-
did beat the Jaguars, so they have led a game before. But just
Yeah, but
looking
they're
at like
down most of that game. But
yeah,
that's
just
enough.
looking at the shift motion percentage last year, like McDaniels is really good at getting guys out in space. He does a lot of motion. It's like you almost like Tyreek Hill's running full speed a lot of routes out of the backfield because he's in motion. So you almost have he
It's
has
timing.
a huge advantage.
Yeah,
Yeah, that and the same with Waddle. They just motion all the time. Last week, and this is probably because of a new quarterback, they only did motion 15% of the game.
they can't.
The week
can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. The week before it was 71%. The week before versus the Bills, when Tua got hurt, it was 80%. Their lowest was the Jaguars at 66%. So I don't know why it's so much lower this year. Probably lower against the Jaguars because they were just running with Achane so much. But we're getting to the point too with Achane where it's just like he's not that hard to stop. Honestly, you have to blame front office and McDaniels for why did you not get a backup quarterback either? Like, there's guys out there. Like, you maybe should have paid Sam Darnold some money to be your backup quarterback. Like, I don't know.
Should have had Joe Flacco on their roster. Like
Joe Flacco, Sam Darnold. There's plenty of guys out there that they could have got. Trade the Cowboys for Cooper Rush. I don't know what you know what I mean? Like, I don't think Dallas would do that, but there's backups out there that the Dolphins needed to go address their quarterback issue of what happens if Tua gets hurt. Even if it's, I don't know, they should went after Marcus Mariota, like there's a lot of things better than what they got going on right now. Anything else we want to talk about in this game? Like,
This is a game I will not be watching.
Yeah.
Talk about people who should be wearing Guardian helmets. I've seen how clumsy you are, Trent. I feel like it'd be a good idea if you wore a Guardian helmet regularly.
Okay,
I'm taking New
glad
England.
you feel that way. I'm going New England too. New
I
England.
hate that. All right, I am going with I'm riding with my boy Huntley, and I'm going with Miami. All right, moving on here. We're going to crank through these games pretty quickly here. We have Cardinals at 49ers. The current total, believe it or not, is 49.5. San Francisco favored by 7.5.
Play Mason.
Yeah,
I don't
Play
know
Juwan
if you-
Jennings.
Yeah, do you have to play Ayuk at this point? Like, it's been rough.
Yes.
Debo's back. You playing him, Seth?
But I'm still playing
mean,
Juwan Jennings.
I think Debo's in a really good spot here. Debo's in a really good spot. Mason's in a good spot. James Conner's in a really tough spot. I think this might be the week to jump off of James Conner. I mean, maybe you can start him still, but I don't like him that much this week. I think you just got to continue. Obviously, you're firing up Marvin Harrison Jr., and I think it might be a decent spot for him.
Yeah. Do we know if we got McBride back?
I do not know about that.
I don't know about that one either. I know he was in concussion protocol last week. And then, yeah, Cardinals, I think they can put some points up. McCaffrey, his, what is it? What is it he has?
Achilles
Double?
strains?
Achilles
tendonitis.
Tendonitis.
That was cool when they said, like, hey, he will play week
McBride
1. He will be
practice.
ready. It's like, thanks, guys. Just I should throw that out there just for, just the lying in sports. There's no place for it. That's all I'm going to say. Like, anyways. All right. I'm going to say 49ers win this one.
I got
49ers.
49ers.
Niner game.
All
bang,
right.
bang, as Phil always says.
I do not say that. All right, moving on. We have Colts versus Jags. Jordan, do you even want to cover this game? Current total right now is 46.5. Jacksonville, actually, believe it or not, favored by 2.5 at home. Are they bringing back the Speedo Cheetah or, the Speedo Jaguar? What are we thinking here?
I don't know about all that, but I think that
You're hopeful. Your fingers are crossed.
Yeah. Fingers are crossed.
Is Anthony Richardson playing this game? Because I think that matters a lot.
It does matter a lot because the Jags are the worst against fantasy quarterbacks right now, giving up 22 points per game.
But it's not on the ground; it's through the air. And
I know it's through the
Richardson
air.
can't throw a football. So, I think maybe. So, if Flacco plays, I like Pittman a lot in this game. I think Pittman is awesome in this game.
And Downs.
I think Downs. I don't know what the snap percentage looked like with Downs. Who got hurt the most from Downs last week?
It was Alec Pierce and Adonai Mitchell.
See, yeah, those are the YOLO ball
Um,
guys that Richardson likes.
If Flacco plays that good again, they might just be like, "Hey, Richardson, when's the point when they're like, hey, we're just going to develop you, man? Like, you just need to learn a little bit more."
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know, but like what I'm saying is if Flacco plays, like Pittman is awesome, Downs is good, and I think I like the game as a whole a lot better. If Anthony Richardson plays, I don't like it as much. This Indianapolis defense is pretty bad against wide receivers. They give up like the 6th, 7th most yards to wide receivers, and they give up about the same fantasy points to wide receivers. So it's a pretty solid matchup. I like Brian Thomas again in this spot. I think Christian Kirk is solid. ETN's in a good spot here too. Like they give up the 2nd most rushing yards to on the season. So I like the Jaguars in this spot. I like this game a lot better if Flacco does play, just because I think it gets more up tempo and gets the ball up and down the field a little bit more. I don't know what you guys have in this game.
no, like just looking at this, like Jonathan Taylor did not practice on Wednesday with an ankle injury. Anthony Richardson was limited practice with an oblique injury. Jaguars side, Etienne has limited practice with a shoulder injury. Tank Bigsby also has a shoulder injury. Gabe Davis also limited practice, shoulder injury. Evan Ingram limited practice with a hamstring. He's day to day. And if you can trade for Evan Ingram right now, I don't hate it. Brandon Strange is 2nd in air yards for tight ends right now. Yeah, so that's just all I have on my tight end notes. Just trying to give you any edge
I
you
think
can with these tight ends.
Ingram's going to play this week, I think.
Okay. Yeah, he was day to day this morning when I looked at it.
Yeah, well, he's missed 3 games in a row. So, like, I think he plays this week.
Yeah.
I got Jaguars winning this game.
Yeah. Jags are the worst matchup for fantasy quarterbacks, but the Colts are the 2nd worst matchup for fantasy quarterbacks. So this is a good get right spot for
you mean the 2nd best and you mean the best and the 2nd best, right?
For like scoring fantasy points is what I mean.
Yeah, like it's the best matchup for quarterbacks.
Yes. Yeah, it's the 2 best matchups in one game.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with not knowing who's playing quarterback for the Colts makes it very difficult. I'm just going to go with the Colts because we saw Anthony Richardson. I don't know, maybe you're in a league where your quarterback gets points when he pushes the running back into the end zone. But that was very unique to see Jonathan Taylor get stuffed at the goal line 2 weeks ago and Anthony Richardson truck him in there. But I'm going to just go Colts. I'm going to go Colts at the moment.
You know what? Don't stop believing. One of my fantasy teams has the most points against. And even though I'm actually sitting pretty decent, I am 0-3. I do not want to go 0-4. And so I don't think the Jaguars either. They are going to win this game here, Jordo.
Yeah. Just to help you out with math, it says 5 on the bottom of the screen. Yep. So you are 0-4. Yeah. So it's okay, man.
I'm 0-4.
Just got corrected by someone you told that should wear a Guardian cap in public, but just thought I'd remind you that. Everyone going, you guys, Jordan.
I also didn't spell the Bills Bill, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well,
Seth, what are you taking?
I'm taking the Colts.
I was just talking about one.
Jaguars getting on the board this week. They're getting the win this week.
I spelled Bill. I forgot the S. Big deal. That just happens to be my dad. Maybe my phone autocorrected. Do you ever think of that?
No.
I muted Trent. He's still chatting.
I said good stuff right there, Phil. I said, actually, it's a bad excuse because I never call my dad by his first name. So bad excuse.
Hey, you filled us in. Thanks so much. All right, moving on here. We have Browns at Commanders 46. Excuse me. Current total is 43.5. Washington is currently favored by 3. If you don't like me muting me, don't give me the power, Trent. Do not give me the power.
I hope you burn your mouth eating a donut tomorrow during your fast tomorrow. So you have to explain that to someone.
Donuts regularly don't come out piping hot, just for what it's worth.
It's actually true.
Yeah, I was confused there.
Hey, why don't
when you
you
live
pick
that
up like
close,
a
you
more?
probably
I
do.
hope you burn your mouth on the coffee. There's
It's
like a
Phil's
variety.
just come like right at Krispy Kreme donut, just right out of the rack, just
Yeah.
right into his mouth.
Sorry,
Yeah, let me
Phil,
just
it's
dunk
hot
my
and
head in
ready
the
every once in a while.
fryer.
Yeah. Deuce,
Not
hey,
gonna-
honestly, that's one of your better ideas, Phil. You should do that
Hey,
tomorrow morning.
I'm not going to be like you in high school and batter myself up in KFC secret seasening and try and jump into a vat of oil. All
Yeah,
right,
that was Chick-fil-A
stupid.
sauce.
That was also
That
stupid.
was a really good
Yeah.
comeback.
It was dumber than my donut thing, but I don't know. A hot
It's
apple
dumber
fritter,
than you
I could
look.
see that get you pretty good. What do we
What
got?
did you
next,
say?
Phil? A hot apple fritter in the morning. I could see that getting you.
I will say sometimes when you would get those toaster strudels, if you ever had a toaster strudel and toasted it just too long, you glazed it up with that little glaze and you take a bite, that's straight up burn sesh on the top of your mouth. Jordan, I know you're a toaster strudel guy. Did you ever have that happen to you?
Yeah, I mean, probably. It's probably happened once or twice. I can
Just you
remember a day specifically where it happened.
get like 3rd-degree burns with that jam coming off that strudes. Seth, did you have toaster strudels or were those too young for you?
Pop-Tarts, same thing, right?
I've
No,
never
No,
had
they're
a
not
toaster
the same
strudel.
thing.
I've never had a
No, I'm-
toaster strudel.
I'm
That's a
more of
shock.
Pop-Tart.
Guys, that
Yeah. You
I
kind of
will
look
say-
like the guy
Now-
on the wrapping though, Phil. I will say that. You kind of give me a similar vibe.
I don't know who
No,
he
I've
is,
had
but
toaster strudels. It's just I think it just really changed to Pop-Tarts really fast.
No. Pop Tarts were first, then toaster
Yes.
strudel. You need to watch Frosted on Netflix, Seth.
I think Seth just probably in his life he probably had toaster strudels first and then switched to the Pop Tarts. That's what he's saying. Hey,
Let's
you know
not-
what?
Yeah, let's not make
Reading
this childhood
comprehension,
anymore.
understanding conversations. I know those are both difficult for you, Trent. So we're just going to move on to the next game here. I think I already introed it. Browns at Commanders, 43.5. Washington currently favored by 3. On a nice little tear here are the Washington Commanders. My phone is about to die, and I'm using my hotspot. So if you see me go out, maybe that's for the best of the pod. But let's talk about this game here.
Yeah, I would love another Verizon outage to just do that about 30 minutes ago. Good spot for Amari Cooper.
Maybe I'll
Don't know
just
if
go
Deshaun
burn
Watson
my
gets it done.
burn my mouth on biting a donut. Yeah. Just can you imagine me
Yeah, good
powdered
one,
donut, just mouth is completely on fire. It's like, where do you get these? And like, how stupid is that? Like literally, where would you, burn your mouth on a donut? Is this like jalapeno jam? What are we talking about here? Like, where have
I
you,
don't know,
when have
Phil.
you
I
ever been
just
in a
wanted to say-
scenario where you could
I
burn your
wanted to
mouth on a
say
donut?
something else about you, but I didn't want to like go after your house. You know, like I was gonna say, like I hope a train goes through your window or something. So I like just reverted to like the donut shop by your house. So like, yeah, it was a bad deal, but you know, it wasn't as violent as what I wanted to say. That's what I'll say.
I'll take that. Fine. Okay. You know what? You pared down. All right. What do we want to say about this game?
I
Does-
like
does
the Amari Cooper spot. I hate his quarterback.
Amari Cooper spot, bad spot for the Washington running backs. They've been really good, but I think it's a bad spot. I think Eckler's probably going to play this week. And then Jaden Daniels is awesome. I think McLaurin's fine, but really like Amari Cooper here.
For all my Terry McLaurin talk I've had all off season, I've just had so much fun going back in comments on YouTube and TikTok, just chirping back at people who've been making fun of me, you know, for a couple weeks. I really hope Devontae Adams doesn't go there because then it's going to go back to them. Then I'm going to have to take all this hate again, but they could both be good, right? I'm going to go with, I'm going to take the Browns, Phil.
I got Washington.
Commanders, bro.
I'm taking the
Browns.
Commanders. The funny thing is none of those people are making
Commandos.
fun of you about your fantasy picks. It's all other stuff. Super weird.
Yeah. I want to see something funny. Turn your selfie cam on, buddy. Okay. What do we got
Ooh.
next?
That's the stupidest thing I ever heard in my
Phil,
life.
finish this before your hotspot dies. Let's go.
All right, Cowboys versus the Steelers. Current total is 42.5. I hope this just grinds your absolute gears, Trent. I think Pittsburgh is currently favored by 10.5. That's why, this guy doesn't know how to use decimal points either. Hey, big guy, what do you think about this game?
10.5.
It's not 10.5.
It's probably 1.5. What do you think about this game?
It's Pittsburgh's minus 105 on the money line is what Trent really put.
Yeah. So
Oh
hey, here's
my
the deal.
gosh.
Brandon Cooks isn't playing,
we
so you
do-
could play. You could play Tolbert if you're feeling risky.
Tolbert
Micah
is how it's
Parsons,
pronounced.
if Parsons doesn't play, and if DeMarcus Lawrence doesn't play, say it every week. It's a good running spot for the Steelers. Don't know if Najee Harris can run for more than 68 rushing yards, though. Like, it might be physically impossible for him to get more than that. There is a defensive player that said Najee's soft last week, that Cordell runs harder. That also might be true. So Tolbert, CeeDee Lamb, I think Doddle's more of the guy there in Dallas. Steelers side, Pickens, and I think you can play Justin Fields. How do you feel about Justin Fields in this, Jordan? Cowboys defense doesn't look good.
He's fine.
Yeah. Probably should have fired Zimmer like 2 weeks ago. It's in Pittsburgh.
I'm going
gonna go
Cowboys.
I think they show up on Sunday Night Football, beat them. I'll go Cowboys.
The
Seth.
Cowboys
I'll
don't
ride
win
with
this
you.
game. I'm sorry. It's just there's no hope.
The Steelers
I
are
got
good,
Pittsburgh.
Seth.
I mean, good, but ain't gonna win anything.
Phil?
I'm going to go Steelers. All right, moving on here. Raiders at Broncos. The current total right now is 36.5. Denver currently favored by 2.5 with lack of Devontae Adams, Max Crosby, a whole slew of other folks, and Gardner Minshew at the helm. Are they going to swap him out? Like, do you think the AOC is coming in here soon, Trent?
I think it's Gardner. I think they're going to keep going with Gardner, especially with. I just think it's Gardner. Trey Tucker.
Hey,
look,
I got a play I really like in this game. I really like.
All right,
this play in this
talk
game.
to us. Talk to us.
Brock.
Denver defense.
You're right. They're good. They're solid.
Denver
good.
defense is actually really good.
Yeah.
They've been like really good against quarterbacks. They've been really good overall. I think like defensively, they're like basically double digits or nine's like their least amount of points they've scored all year. So no, I'm serious. I like the Denver defense in this game. I don't really
I
like
dig it.
Javonte, I guess is fine. Like Bowers, you got to play because tight end's horrible. Trey Tucker, but yeah, I think the Denver defense is my favorite play in this game.
I liked how they got creative with getting Tucker the ball last week. That's the only thing I'll say about Tucker. It was end arounds, just creative. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm ready to play him in this one though, but yeah, especially without Devontae Adams, not excited about it. I'm gonna go in Denver. I'm gonna go Broncos.
I got
I'm
Denver.
going Denver here.
Okay, Phil, what are you doing? Phil, what are you doing? I think we might have lost Phil.
Oh yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I am going with stupid. I am going with the I think back up against the wall, Raiders turn around and they just make it happen.
Minshew magic. Okay.
Minshew magic.
All right, guys, just recapping the whole thing. Today's episode, our starts were DeAndre Swift, Xavier Worthy, Dontavian Wicks. Our sits were Kyle Pitts, Tyreek Hill, Zay Flowers, sleepers, Keon Coleman, Alan Lazard, and Wandale Robinson. I think that kind of does it, guys. Seth and Jordan will be coming to you on YouTube at TFF Dudes. Give us a like, give us a sub. Remember, don't be rude, share the dudes. That'll be coming out Friday morning. We will see you guys next time. Also, got the waiver show on Mondays. Don't forget to check that out. Also, see you next time. And as always, take care.
This has been another episode of the Fantasy Football Dudes podcast. Remember to rate, review, and follow. For more information, go to www.thefantasyfootballdudes.com. And remember, we are sorry for absolutely nothing.